at a very controversial subject. He really got the nation talking again as far as the prospect of power outages, and the two words have now been introduced into the conversation. The doomsaw is what we knew, and then doomcra also emerged, and there's been the NDC is holding on to doomsaw. The MPP in government is holding on to doomcra. They're saying what we are having now is not doomcra. That doomcra used to be in the NDC's time when they were in government. The NDC says, well, what we are having is doomsaw, and so there's a conversation around it. But bottom line is about what it means for you.
You've forgotten one. Adundumadundu.
That's the current minority leader Haile Idrisu.
He was recollecting one MPP
yes.
and promised that it would never happen, even under the
And then we knew what happened. He had almost 3 years of power outages. But that is a controversial subject, and I'm happy Pius is here. I'm sure before he came, he had the briefing. We want to start with an update on the power situation currently, because yesterday people complained that they had outages in parts of the country, and so we want to know what the current update is. But we'll start by listening to bits of a conversation in the week about this particular subject. Edward Buah is on the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament. John Peter Amewu, you also hear, and the civil society guys also talking about this.
What argument had been, and you see, I am not using MPP and DC. And that was one of the things I put in that particular article. I said, look, you could, if government so felt that, look, let's see how we can make the cost of energy bearable to Ghanaians. Instead of looking at the energy charges that they attacked, which will encroach on the requirements, the revenue requirements of the utilities, you could look at the fiscal regime in terms of the taxes and other things that fall under
the taxes.
Cut the taxes. But government kept the taxes intact and went for the energy charges. So as we speak, ECG can buy, I'm just using the layman's language, ECG will buy power, say 10 cedis, and sell it at 7 cedis. Already from day one, there is already a deficit.
So
on
is
the
that
basis,
the primary reason why we are having the challenge?
So on the basis of that, we have been able to, so ECG now, just by virtue of even trying to do the right thing, will accrue debt. So beyond just the debt that has been, and I've heard the minister make the point, the debt that has been accrued as a result of the legacy debt. And you see, again, when they use the word legacy, people think legacy debt means Muhammad's debt. Yeah, so we are looking at fresh debt that has been piled in the sector. We are hitting, because if media, we are almost around 1.2 billion. If you look at just media, I'm not talking of the July, August, and other things, just media, we are almost around 1.2 billion. It tells you clearly that there's something that is not right.
Okay. Well, as a government and as an energy minister, I want to say very sorry to Ghanaians, especially those that have experienced this period of intermittent power supply. Of course, as a minister, I'm responsible. That is why I'm here. I take the blame. But I want to assure them that it was as a result of, a number of events that have occurred, and this has nothing, to do with financial issues. It has nothing to do with a planning system, but it's a mere coincidence of events that occurred as a result of contingencies that are unforeseen. And as a ministry, we put in measures, as I've stated earlier on, to make sure that we address this. Some people, during the period spoke, they lost their televisions as a result of this. Some of them got their TVs, and a lot of other things being damaged. Well, of course, again, we want to apologize for that and let them understand that this will never happen again.
Anyway, it's very important that Ghanaians must realize that 1 week of power interruptions has drawn so much attention. For us as government, we extremely welcome, Ghanaians' stance on this particular issue. For 3 years, now we know 1 year, 1 week is very key. So it gives us, as people you put in to manage your resources, it puts us in a position to be very alert.
Honourable Minister, would it be fair for me to say doomsaw is back?
Well, when you put off the light, you say doomsaw, isn't it? In the past 3 years, it was doomcra. We are not in an era of doomcra, okay? The lights may go off as we are witnessing, but I can assure you that that long period that we envisage, that our opponent thinks that they want to capitalize on, that period will never come.
So we still have a basic finance problem in the sector. You see, let me take the last tariff adjustment.
Yeah.
The last tariff adjustment did not help the energy sector. It was
17.5 for residential. The businesses were getting almost 30%.
Yeah, it was good for the populace because it was short term. The government got applause for it, but it was very, very, very unhelpful to the power sector institutions. In 2016, ECG made profits. 2017, they made losses. 2018, they made losses.
And you say this is just because we reduced the tariffs?
No, it's one of the contributory factors.
Or one of them?
Yes, I mean, when you are dealing with an entity, there's usually not just one cause, but that contributing cause could be major. Gridco, the most sensitive of all the power sector institutions, in my opinion, Gridco is the most critical. Gridco had to forego 80% of their planned capital expenditure this year because of the tariff reduction.
And they told you that?
Yes. I mean, they presented their budget to the Committee of Mines and Energy and why they had to shelve some part of their capital expenditure.
If there's a pressure drop, and it's technical in nature, what contributed to the pressure drop? He couldn't tell us.
Yeah, but we've heard the explanation that it's just because of the distance it takes to move the fuel.
Natural gas to car power.
Yeah, that
I have never known car power use natural gas before. It can use natural gas, but never used natural gas before. It depends. They depend on heavy fuel oil all this while, and it was idle for some time when this issue had not come up. So why all of a sudden you can blame it on car power, which have never used natural gas before, until probably they move it to the Western Enclave or we get the reverse flow to Tema if it sits there for them to consume. So it can never be anything with car power. They have never used natural gas before here in Ghana.
So, Pius, today is Saturday, 1st of December. Where are we with the intermittent power outages?
Well, thank you very much, Evans. I think that this is a very, very important question. And on my way to the studio, I checked with the technicians. And as I speak to you today, we have available capacity of 2,800 megawatts, 2,800 megawatts.
Okay.
And our peak demand is 2,100.
Okay.
So what it
So
means
we have
technically,
like 700,
we have 700
surplus. That when we need, we can call on.
That's right.
So there shouldn't be
So
power outage anywhere in the country if it's not
to answer your question,
localized fault.
absolutely.
Okay.
To answer your question directly, we do not have a doomsday situation on our hands. And we have had this, God willing, and we are grateful to God. We have had this for the past days, and we will continue to improve on the situation.
Okay, my question, just before we move on. The available capacity of 2,800 will be plants that you hope have the capacity to generate that amount. But do these plants have the fuel? That was a key question, because what we know from the power outages was that Nigeria gas became a problem, reverse flow was not complete, and they affected the thing. The 2,800, yes, you have it available, but do they have gas so that when we need it, we can call on and they can supply?
No, Evans, that's why I said it's available. There is generating capacity,
so the gas is in it,
then there is
when you need
dependable
it,
capacity,
okay.
and there is available capacity. The available capacity are those that are ready to fire.
Okay.
And so it means that to use maybe some basic illustration, if it was a generator at home, it means that even there is diesel or petrol in it
already
now, and at the push of the button, it can fire. That is what the available capacity is. And we are at 2,800 megawatts, and our peak demand today is 2,100 megawatts. Okay. So we are not in the situation of a doomsday as we have known it in times past.
Okay.
But let me agree that over the last couple of weeks there has been some apprehension and agitation across board, especially on social media, traditional media. But that's understandable because, Evans, in my language, they say that if you have been bitten by the snake before, if you see the millipede, you run. And so I could relate Because, I mean, Dumso, as we used to experience it in times past, when Evans, before you leave the office and go home, you would definitely make that call.
You check.
Is there light? Yeah. The mere feeling of discomfort.
When I go home straight
you drive around. And the mere discomfort that the people of Ghana had to endure, and the distraction to businesses that we witnessed in this country, for me, is akin to being beaten by the snake. So that when some circumstances conspire against you, and for about a week or two, what you were used to in the past, or what discomfort you were experiencing in the past appears to resurface, anybody would respond in the manner that people responded. But I think that we must also commend the Energy Ministry, that even though we were clear in our minds that this was temporary and that we were going to navigate out of it quickly, the ministry again took time to continually assure people. The minister engaged. There was a press conference. He had a few television interactions. So I guess with you, to reassure the people of Ghana that yes, we do understand, but it is not Dumso. And true to his word, it's not Dumso. Today, as I speak to you, the situation is that we have excess MW in the system. And so we are not anywhere close to Dumso. But this is what happened. And I have checked from not just the politicians at the Ministry of Energy. I've spoken to experts and technicians on the ground who have outlived governments and political parties. Some of them worked even before the NPP got into power. And they have assured us that a few circumstances conspired against us. That one, the FPSO at Jubilee and ENI had tripped.
Hey.
Yes.
This is the first time here.
Yes. Very.
When did you?
I think around the 18th, the first trip was noticed on or about the 17th or 18th of November.
Really?
Yes.
So why didn't the energy minister say that at his press conference?
No. The minister said to you that I am getting into fuller details. The minister said that we were not able to send power to the Abuazi enclave, but the Jubilee and NA are the ones that the FPSO to those and these FPSOs are the ones that feed the Western enclave largely. The Tema enclave is fed normally largely by the West Africa gas. That also around the same time. We lost some pressure on.
The minister said three things.
Yes.
Problems with Nigeria gas.
Yes.
Reverse flow not complete.
Yes.
As in negotiating tariff.
Yes.
And so they will sign. In fact, they should have signed that yesterday.
Yes.
So we need to update us on
Yes.
that. And thirdly, that car power, which is what we just had been discounted. Three things. He didn't say that FPSO tripped.
Well, I was not at the minister's press briefing.
Yeah.
Okay, but I've even read what the minister said.
Yeah,
It's there. Yes. That
that's the first time.
Yeah.
And he was on my show for an hour.
Well, maybe you didn't ask in that regard, but I can assure you that I have had those briefings.
Okay.
The second one is the gas pipeline that comes from Itoki into Tema and then onwards to Takoradi. Yeah. That one we dropped, and I think that by the 22nd of November, thereabout, pressure was zero. And that is it. So it meant that we were losing a total of about Asogli was compromised. Asogli was producing in the region of about 400 megawatts. And then car power. The HFO to car power delayed. No. I think that there's a ship that should arrive and the ship delayed. And was on the waters and arrived late, delayed. And again, that was also compromised. At the same time, you see, I'm trying to discuss to you the challenges that we had all around that time. So the minister may not have been able to deal with all of them. Again, 2 of the inflow gauges on the B also had problems around the same time.
The Buah power.
The Buah dam.
Plant, yeah.
Yes. And so it meant that we could only run on 1 out of the 3 turbines in B. So all of this put together meant that we had to manage a certain shortfall of between 850 megawatts and there about 900, 850 megawatts. And so it brought some discomfort. There had to be some load shedding. And that's why the minister admitted that, well, if the lights go off, we call it doomsaw. But if it is because the pressure on the West Africa gas had gone down, and the pressure we know will come up, and we know why, because there were some mechanical challenges at the source, and we were being told that those were being fixed, and they were going to be fixed. And the HFO that was supposed to arrive, which was delayed, would arrive soon. Then we cannot have the situation that we had before, which maybe he then christened as Doomkra. So it is not the case that we are saying that, oh, something is happening, but what happened under the NDC was worse. But we also are having something similar. No, it's just that we agreed that within that time, we were shedding some load. And of course, load shedding in this country had become known as doomsaw. But the reassuring thing is that as we speak to you, we have resolved all of these challenges. We have resolved all of these challenges. And we have gone back to the situation that we were in. It is not financial. We have insisted that in this country, our friends in the NDC have always argued that they solved doomsaw before they left government. That is not true. In June of 2016, the then Deputy Minister for Energy announced that we have to again do some load shedding. That's doomsaw, and we did it extensively.
But that was June.
Yes.
The question to you is, December 7, 2017, when you
was there light?
Do you
no,
have
the
doomsaw?
question, Evans, I think that the question actually is that on the 7th of January,
yeah. Did you have
when President Nana Addo was being sworn in, was there power at the Independence Avenue? Yes, there was power.
No, but
that is not doomsaw.
But that is not.
No. I'm asking. No, let's take this seriously, because this is about businesses, about homes, and
Yes.
so
Yes.
not trivialize it.
No, I'm not.
The question to you is, on the 7th of January 2017, when you took office, did you have a doomsaw problem on your hand?
Well, I can admit to you that the problem had not entirely gone. But were we seeing improvements as compared to what we started seeing in 2014, 2015? Yes, we had seen some improvement. But definitely the solution to doomsaw had not been entirely, or the problem of doomsaw had not been entirely eradicated. When you say we didn't have doomsaw, doomsaw is intermittent. By January of 2016, the situation was not as bad as by June. By June, it came again. By October, November, getting to December, we had also stabilized it. But that did not mean that we had resolved doomsaw. And I'm saying to you that if you understood how the system, how the system works, of course, why not? I mean, government is a continuum, and the NDC would also give the NPP some credit, and the previous NPP administration, they will give us some credit, and then that government will also give the government of Jerry Rawlings some credit. We will go on until we give former President Dr. Kwame Nkrumah some credit. But they must also.
I think the biggest credit that will go to Kwame Nkrumah.
I'm saying that they must also learn to give us some credit that as we speak today, because you see, in all of this, even at the time we had doomsaw, we had generation capacity that was bigger than our peak demand. We also had dependable capacity that was bigger than our peak demand. What we didn't have was available capacity, because the turbines were there, some of the engines were there, we just could not pay for the fuel to fire them. And so we had dependable capacity. We could have fired them, but we didn't have available capacity. And that is some of the times why we said that the problem was financial. Not that it was entirely financial, but to a very large extent, the problem of Dumso under the NDC was financial.
Let me bring in Felix. Felix was the deputy communications minister then, so he had to deal with it. He had to deal with the challenge of us always calling him on this matter.
And I recall those headings.
Do you give him credit? He says you should learn to give them some credit.
Look, you see, there's no credit to be had, quite frankly. And in fact, the flack that they've come under and the criticism that they've faced is entirely deserved. And it is not because people only remember the difficulties associated with Dumso, but they also remember their haughty claims and pronouncements and their claim to possessing superior ability to manage the country's energy sector. So people don't expect even a single day of Dumso under them.
Wow.
No, let me make my point. Number two.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Look, you must walk your talk. When you come and criticize me, lambast me, call me names, and say that you are better than me at managing something, I do not expect that when you come to power, I will experience a single day of Dumso, especially within the context of what you inherited. Look, they have not faced the problems. Yes, they have not faced the problems that we faced. And if you listen carefully, the circuitous narrative that they've rendered is eerily reminiscent of exactly what we said accounted for Dumso in the past. In August of 2012, that was the first time that President Mahama, at the time he had taken over from President Mills, publicly spoke about the gravity of the situation that we were facing. You will recall that there was a problem with the West African gas pipeline too. In fact, a ship had rammed it, so there had been a breach, which took several months to fix. And once that repair was ongoing, it limited our ability to derive gas from Nigeria. So the Tema Enclave too was down, just like he said, that some difficulty with the West African gas pipeline ensured that Sunana Sogli and other plants in that enclave were not getting gas. Again, if you listen to them carefully, apart from the Nigeria gas excuse, which is exactly the same problem that we highlighted between 2012 and 2015, he speaks about non-availability of fuel to car power. In fact, when he speaks also about problems with the FPSO, he is referring to Amewu, because Amewu relies on gas from the 3 FPSOs that we have now. The question then to ask is that if car power and Amewu were not available, what would be the energy situation now? In other words, it is because these 2 plants had difficulties that we experienced the 2 weeks Dumso that we had. So is it not implied in that admission that Dumso essentially was resolved by John Mahama because he was able to mobilize emergency power in the manner that he did?
He said you brought the plants, but you couldn't power it.
That is not true.
Because
but that is incorrect. That is incorrect. He himself has spoken about gas. That to the extent that gas is available, the plant will be fired.
But I said you didn't have the money to.
But that's not true. Why? We are getting gas. We have a whole gas processing plant that produces what do you call it, gas. They owe Ghana Gas $900 million as I speak to you. $900 million. We didn't owe that much when we were leaving power. There was some debt, of course. But even then, we had created a financing mechanism to address it. With regards to car power, it was being fired. And they know it. But they kept claiming that it was a financing issue when it was essentially a technical issue. Apart from the West African gas pipeline, the reality also is that some of the thermal plants are quite old. They've been there for close to 2 decades. So intermittently, they break down. And sometimes you'll be there. I recall an incident in Honorable Kofi Buah's office that I have never forgotten. I was in his office discussing the matter with him when he received a text message. The man just slammed in his chair. And you could tell the frustration on his face because he had just received news that a major thermal plant had gone down because of a technical difficulty. That meant, therefore, that that kind of generation was going to be lost to the system. So we were going to have an intensified problem. But once car power and Amewu came in, we had substantial backup. In addition to this, the Sunana Sogli, which is an IPP, had just completed the first phase of their second installment to the project. That's a 180 megawatts out of 360 that they had scheduled as the second phase. That had been completed, they come on board. There was work ongoing on Sen Power. There was work ongoing on Jacobson, Amandi, and the rest. So essentially, if you put together what John Mahama's administration added, both in terms of government's direct intervention in car power and Amewu, and what IPPs were going to provide, we're talking about close to 2,000 megawatts that would have been added. So there's no dispute about who did most work to address the problem of Dumso. There's also no dispute about what caused it. what caused Dumso is the same thing that they are saying created the 2-week problem that we faced. But the reason why they are receiving extra bashing is that people don't expect them, given what they inherited, to have these difficulties. Of course, there's a long-standing issue of financing, and that stems from an age-old truism that the utility companies have been engaged in under-recovery. In other words, they put in resources to generate power, but they don't recover as much. Some have accused them of inefficiency, but even inefficiency can be addressed if they invest in technology. That is, if they have the money to invest in the technology and the systems that limits that inefficiency. But that problem persists. It created what we call the legacy debt, which had accrued over 2 decades. So what did we do? We introduced ESLA, which they vehemently opposed. And through ESLA, we get 3 billion, about 3.5 billion Ghana cedis annually. But I have the figures here. 3.5 billion Ghana cedis annually. On the back of that, they went to float a bond of 6.7 billion Ghana cedis, ostensibly to pay off the debt. Mind you, before we left, we had paid about 250 million Ghana cedis out of the debt from ESLA proceeds, and we scheduled another 2.5 billion, meaning that we had reached agreement with the banks that in view of the receipts that we were going to get, they should reschedule the payment, so that gives us some breathing space. They inherited it and leveraged, or if you like, collateralized that ESLA proceed to go for 10 billion Ghana cedis. They got 6.7 billion, which is substantial and should pay down the debt. But you will be surprised to learn that as I speak to you, they are misusing the ESLA process. They've taken 600 million Ghana cedis out of it to pay pension.
I asked the energy minister when he came on my show about that. He says he doesn't work at the finance ministry.
Well, that is self-explanatory.
So we don't have a confirmation or denial.
He as energy minister is fully aware of this. I beg your pardon. He as energy minister should be fully aware, because it involves his sector as well. The debts have been accrued by entities that work under his sector. VRA is an energy sector organization. Gridco is an energy sector organization. ECG falls under the purview of the energy ministry. So the minister cannot feign ignorance about the management of ESLA, except that perhaps he was being less than candid and parrying the question to another authority. But it has been shown that 600 million cedis of it has gone to pay for some pension funds, which is not
I haven't seen any evidence of this.
No, but you see, they brought their report. They bring their report every year, 2016, 2017. They bring their report to Parliament.
So you should have brought it, because I haven't seen
no
the
problem.
evidence.
Indeed, the former finance minister has spoken extensively to it. And mind you, he was key in the institutionalization of this ESLA process. So he is not to be disputed. But the point I'm making is that the excuses they are making now cannot be taken, because they met a much better situation. And indeed, it was instructive that when you questioned Mr. Amewu about their own contribution to generation, he admitted that they've not added a single megawatt.
He says it takes time. It takes at least 3 years.
It does. That is why when we were fixing the problem, and we needed some time to bring in the emergency power plants and also ensure that the IPPs complete their own projects, they would not listen to us. They branded us with all kinds of names. They forgot then that at least you need 3 to 4 years to complete the thermal plants. So why should Ghanaians excuse you today if you've not added a single megawatt in 2 years? So essentially, Dumso was well and over before they came to power. They've inherited sufficient systems and financing arrangements to ensure that we don't go back to that. So when people are nervous and apprehensive and anxious about Dumso, it stems from this knowledge. People appreciate what went on. And indeed, if you recall, on sometime at the end of 2015, Gridco issued a statement that indicated that since 24th December 2015, there had not been planned load shedding. In other words, taking out some supply because of shortfalls in generation, because they have adequate generation. But they cautioned, of course, that because of the lack of robustness in the system, transmission, distribution, and all that, absolutely. So sometimes you have outages, but those are localized faults. Indeed, even before this 2-week period, people have been experiencing outages all over Accra and other parts, which is not necessarily due to load shedding, but due to a trip here or a problem there or the blowout of a transformer there. So we need a comprehensive solution to our energy generation and supply system.
Having heard the minister and Pius that currently the available capacity is 2.8, our peak demand is 2.1. You're confident that this is...
But the reality is that I've been at pains to stress, Evans, that we put in adequate generation to make the problem of generation shortfalls. To make the problem of shortfalls in generation no longer existent. So they don't have an excuse.
May I just
They don't, listen, even why recently, I'm sure you heard the president say in London that we have become a net exporter of power. That is simply because we are generating more than we need. So if we are generating more than we need, we should not go into doom so, unless of course through mismanagement they keep on piling debts, like we are witnessing at Ghana Gas and we are witnessing at Gov't, and they keep on misusing the financing arrangements under ESLA to pay off debts that are not.
But you haven't shown evidence of that.
But that information is available. But
I haven't seen evidence of that.
Are you certain that if the energy minister knew for a fact that this was not true, he wouldn't point it out?
Well, but he didn't confirm or deny, so I can't hold him to it.
The energy minister has full information about the utilization of ESLA because it falls under his purview also. So the fact that he was unable to confirm or deny should tell you that there's some substance to the point that the former finance minister.
Just one small question. 30 seconds. Yes, to my brother. I need to move on. I want to find out from my brother.
Oh, no.
Let's find out. I welcome the question.
Honestly,
I welcome the question. I
welcome the question. It's a harmless question.
Let me see. Yes. Let me decide. Let me use my authority.
I want to find out, is it still possible to have doomsaw? Is it still possible to have doomsaw even if there is plenty generation capacity?
But of course there is.
So why is it that you fail to accept that when I tell you that in your time there was generating capacity, there was dependable capacity, but we still have doom. So you said no. But now you turn around to say that because
that's why I asked you about car power, the role of car power.
No,
now
let me answer.
Do you see that?
Let me answer. Also briefly.
When doomsaw first occurred in 2012, the problem is that there was significant shortfall in generation capacity to begin with. We didn't have much to produce, let alone distribute and supply. When they came to power, that problem had essentially been resolved. And the narrative that they've given as being responsible for the 2 week shows clearly that it is car power and Amewu that resolved the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Forget about the other additions that came on.
Thank you very much. Dr. Shosai, my question to you, the energy minister apologized, and you are not a politician like myself. He apologized and says, I take full responsibility, blame me, it won't happen again. Do you accept his apology?
I accept his apology, but then what's the way forward? Speaking as a Ghanaian, this English the politicians are speaking, we understand. But we want to have light, we want to have power. Businesses are waiting to have power every day so they can do their business. I think the energy sector should not be over-politicized. I think there are issues that needs to be dealt with. If we want to tackle the challenges, let us develop a short, medium to long-term approach to solving the matter. Is it true that government is still owing independent power producers $900 million? Is it true?
I mean, thankfully, when the energy minister was on my show, he brought a list of the debt and who they owe, and it went through a number of them, millions and millions of cities. In fact, government owes ECG 1 billion plus.
So what is the short, medium to long-term plan? Well, okay.
No, but I'm just talking about the debt.
So then what is the short to medium plan to settle these debts? I'm happy to hear from my brother here that we have surplus, about 700 megawatts, which is very good. But is it also true that Asogli, Agza Power, Kapa, Akosomo, and Buah are operating under minimum capacity? Is it true?
Operating at optimum?
Yes. I don't know.
Okay,
no.
So again, the energy minister answered that.
Yes.
He as of Wednesday when I spoke to him, Asogli was not operating at full, but that's not because they could not, but it's because they were just operating, producing what we needed at the time. And he said, as and when we need more, they'll sort of ramp it up to the full capacity.
My simple advice is that we should do realistic tariff adjustments. We should do realistic. We should not play politics with this. We should take political expediency out of energy management and let us face the reality.
Okay, so speak the right language for me. You want an increase in tariffs?
Well, I want an increase in tariff insofar as I'll see energy, I'll see the light, I'll see power flowing. That is what we want.
But the government,
that would be adverse with what you said in opposition powers.
No, but to the extent that the people are now getting the people are now getting reliable power.
That has always been
under you, an increase could not have been justified because this was 4 years protracted.
And this is where the politics comes in. You see, we shouldn't play politics. You see, we should not play politics with power. If we think that charging maybe fixing realistic tariffs will give us reliable power, let us do so and explain it to Ghanaians. Rather than us saying that we are doing tariff adjustment, we are not charging realistic rate, and then the issue will come up and Ghanaians will descend on politicians. It's about time we become open, transparent, and realistic.
The minister had an answer to that question of tariff. He says he doesn't see any tariff review in the short to medium term.
That's right.
Well, insofar as it gives us consistent and reliable power, that's fine.
Kweku, the politics of Dumso. Where do you stand on that conversation?
The politics of Dumso. Once you've started from there, let me go back to the Hansard. This is 19 June 2007. My good friend, somebody I admire actually, Aruna Idrusu. He says, Mr. Speaker, I repeat that this government has no excuse in plunging this country into darkness. And Mr. Speaker, my tree is not good. In 1998 and 2000, they campaigned on Adum no Bejai. Adum no Bejai. Then there was laughter. The Speaker actually asked him, he said, Honorable Member for Tamale South, can you repeat what you said? I did not get you. Aruna Idrusu said, Mr. Speaker, between 1998 and 2000, a major and a very attractive campaign slogan by the then opposition was Adum no Bejai. Laughter again. Mr. Speaker, literally meaning he was interrupted. Then he came and said, Mr. Speaker, in making reference to the tree physiology I used, it was just to remind the government of the new patriotic party that my understanding of positive change is to keep your honor that you promised the people of Ghana that if they get power, the contrary has happened, which in my view means that this was avoidable. But Mr. Speaker, it is important that we analyze. It was interrupted by Che Mensa. So he comes back and says, I agree. I will be very brief, Mr. Speaker. I'm checking my time. The excuse is not just for this government. That's the key. Mr. Speaker, even a future NDC government, which I am very optimistic about in 2009, and he was right, should have no excuse in plunging this country into any darkness because opportunities exist, whether hydro or thermal, to assure the people of Ghana adequacy in its energy supply. Well, under Better Ghana agenda, just like positive change, we continued to have load shedding, in this case, Dumso. Yeah. Now, you see, what happened recently? Is it 1 week or 2 weeks? Regardless of the time limit, I felt uncomfortable. I have to be very honest with you. And I'm sure many Ghanaians out there, both domestic users, consumers, and industrial, commercial users, all felt uncomfortable, even for a day, an hour. So it's good the Minister of Energy rendered an apology. I think that was good, even though it is not a substitute for fixing the problem. Now, I won't sit here and say I have a full understanding of all the details in terms of the technical, the financial, and other things. I don't. It's an area where I don't have much competence in relative to, but I feel it when the lights go off, when I have to go and buy fuel and put in my generator. I know that somehow it affects part of my pocket. So that's a fact. I don't need technical understanding or knowledge or competence to fill that situation. So it wasn't good enough. But I didn't hear, and maybe I'm sounding naive, I didn't hear that a load shedding program was outdoored or outlined. And so to me, I find it difficult to accept that that was Dumso in the classical sense of the understanding. I don't think we had Dumso, to be honest with you. It didn't happen like we had in 1997 to 2000, like we had in 2005, I think 2006 to 2007, you know. And people forget, we had some earlier, 83, 94, 98, you know. So we all have come to the understanding that, look, both hydro and thermal, based on the complementary approach, we can put things out there. You know when Buah came into being? That was 1998. 98. Yeah. We had many Dumsos before 98. Now, I hear my friends in the NDC, usually, and in this part of the politics, my problem is talking, the point about how you have even added 1 megawatt. And this is in reference to this administration. Why should they? I'm told we had about 4,000. We have about 4,000. Is that not so?
That's right.
Immediately, if a government has taken over with all the economic challenges, macroeconomic instability, all those things, you're going to force to add how many megawatts when you have 4,000, which is in excess?
In excess of what
Immediately, practically, scientifically. That's not where the emphasis is. I'm not saying in future you are not planning. You could have programs knowing how the percentage of consumption and all that. Yes, but immediately, 22 months government, you are asking that government, you are telling him you haven't added 1 megawatt. It doesn't make sense to me. It's just propagandist. Because any government who does that will be missing the priorities, the immediate ones. But you see, they tend to forget something. Before the NPP exited, and that's, you see, when you are setting out, especially emergency power plants, they are easy. Sometimes within a year or two, you could bring it, even less. But if you are planning projects over a period, it takes time. From 2001 to 2005, the Kofi administration was dealing with a hectic economy. They had to redress the balance, the imbalance, to get this country on an even keel. It's post-2005 that they began to engage the energy sector constructively with projects. Check 2009 budget and 2010 budget, and check the projects that the finance minister put out there. Some are here. Projects under construction between 2007 and 2008. One of it, and I've read the green book of the NDC. There's no attempt to credit anybody, and I don't have a problem with that. Do you know about the Pong KTPP? The Zakem project?
Yeah.
It began 2007. It was meant to be completed 2010. When the NDC, the Mills administration came into office, they smelled some afoko there. And so decided to investigate, claiming there was corruption. You remember a British diplomat had written some articles on it. So they stopped it and did investigations. Eventually, that project, I think, was completed 2015.
That's right.
But that's a project that began under Kufuor. Okay? There are many of them here. VRA/Tema, TT1PP, Siemens, is that how you call it? Siemens, Atoll Energy, Astom, that's the KTPP, Zakem project, Sunu Asogli, Senchens Energy, Tama Osunu Power Plant, CCC Magellan Calendar, and then the Buah Hydro Dam, which was completed under, is it the Mills administration? No, I think Muhammad.
No, the Mills.
The Mills, okay. So you see, the truth is that the logic of development, the dynamics of development, is such that some of these projects could not be completed by one administration. It floats over. The key thing for we Ghanaians is the completion of them and its utilization. So I think that this whole thing about you haven't added 1 megawatt, you added 1 megawatt, it's needless. The focus is whether the projects that have been done are completed properly and are being utilized to the benefit of the good people of this country.
What's your level of confidence in this government's ability to maintain what they've said they will in terms of the power sector, the regular power supply?
You're asking level of confidence. It's a subjective.
Yeah, very subjective. I know.
I'm going to give you.
Based on all that you've heard this week.
I pray and hope they sustain what they inherited from the Mahama administration in terms of the fact that Dumsor had ceased. I'm not one of those who thinks Dumsor was there when the Kofi administration came into office. I don't believe so.
Okay.
Largely. It's the way, as I said, within a week, that thing is gone. I feel comfortable. So that's why I say it wasn't Dumsor. Same way, when the Kofi administration assumed office, we had left Dumsor behind us in the way with the load shedding. I didn't know there was any load shedding. So we got to be consistent. Now, it's the challenge. I hope what happened, the 2 weeks thing, won't happen again. Because look, it was difficult. Even though it's 2 weeks, compared to 3-4 years, is nothing. The 4 years, the number of enterprises that collapsed, businesses that collapsed, workers that lost their jobs. Maybe we haven't done this statistical research properly. So those who say we stopped doing so, good, they did. I give them credit for that. But they should not forget the reverse side of the coin. What was the cost of the Dumsor, the 4 years, relative to the state of the economy? It was huge. If this thing happens again, even if it's 3 weeks, the head of the minister might roll.
That's Kweku Bako Jr. there, and we'll wrap up on this. What, you have more updates for us on? If you're going to do politics, no.
No.
If you're going to, no, seriously. No. If you're going to say, oh, this guy did this,
no.
I simply, because this is, I think it's a serious matter. And Kweku talks about the businesses, the discomfort he felt. Unless it's going to be an update on the power situation.
I detest that argument.
Fantastic. So don't do it.
Do that. But
I allow you 60 seconds.
I just think that I think that Kweku's intervention settles this matter of who added what or who didn't add what.
Okay.
I mean,
so like if it settles it, then let's move on.
It moves on.
Okay.
Beyond that, even the retrofitting that increased the capacity of the Akosombo was done by the SY MP.
It began under the
Rollins and of course.
So all governments have.
But you see, we spoke about debts here.
Yes.
Felix, the legacy debts are actually coming down. Maybe not as fast as not as fast as we would all have desired, but the legacy debts that stood at over $2.8 billion are coming down. Today, as I speak to you, we are talking about some 2.3 billion. It's coming down.
From
yesterday,
from
2.8 billion.
Okay.
Yesterday.
So from 2.8 to 2.7.
2.3 billion.
Okay.
Yesterday, Mr. Walter Perry, you remember the gentleman?
No, I don't.
The CEO of WAPCO.
Said what?
The gentleman who came
that's your last comment. So
the gentleman who came to Ghana under the former administration and threatened us that
I remember the press conference. I remember the press conference.
He said yesterday that we had paid over 50% of our indebtedness to them.
Okay.
And because of that, let me also inform that yesterday, that gas transportation agreement that you spoke about when the minister came, which would enable us to have this reverse flow mechanism from the west to east.
But just to clarify that, the reverse flow infrastructure is not complete. What you've done is called a bypass.
It's a bypass, yes.
So the bypass, you've negotiated the $1.something.
There will be a tariff that we have to pay to WAPCO because we are going to use their.
Which agreement of that was signed?
That was signed yesterday. Okay. So now we have an agreement that can enable us to at least use the infrastructure of the West African gas pipeline infrastructure
to bring
to
gas
do
the
that's right, to evacuate excess gas from the west to the east, and that has been done. I would have the meeting closed quite late, so I'm not privy to the exact amount, but a tariff has been agreed, and now we can proceed with the reverse flow, which can also even help to further resolve the matter.
Thank you very much. Felix, 1 minute.
Two issues. Dr. Sai mentioned the need for realistic tariffs. It's an age-old debate. But you see, this government will have a difficulty because of their own commitments. And commitments must be respected. On 24th May 2016, President Akufo-Addo issued a statement when the PURC announced some tariff adjustment, which they would justify under the aegis of charging realistic tariffs. He said that there were simply too many taxes on electricity prices that needed to be removed immediately. In fact, I quote him, a large part of it is due, that is the increase, is due to taxes or the insatiable appetite of the Mahama government for taxes. 10% energy levy, which is charged for both domestic oil commercial uses, a service charge of 7 Ghana cedis flat rate for every consumer, and a VAT of 17.5% for commercial users. Yet, he has done nothing about these taxes since coming to power. For him to be able to reduce electricity tariffs in the manner that Dr. Osei is demanding, he needs to be able to do something about these taxes. So that's the first. The second problem, the second issue that I need to speak of is that the second point.
Some of the taxes were reduced, though.
Yeah, but not to the extent. He demanded a 10% reduction, and he hasn't done that. So going forward, will he do that? And would it be in consonance with what he said? The second point is that it is not about who added or did not add what. The point that we make when we speak about the NDC resolving Dumso is that today, if this government has a breather or they have breathing space to maneuver, it is not because of any exceptional additions that they've made. But it has nothing to do with better management. When you come in and somebody has installed generation capacity, that gives us excess so that we can even export as the president speaks.
But if you
I beg your pardon. And you inherit a financing arrangement that allows you to pay down debt, that opens up lines of credit for your utilities to be able to produce. The problem essentially is resolved. But the worrying feature is that as they've been in power, they are racking up new debts. Even as they pay down the old debt. So the new debt amounts to mismanagement. What is it that they are not doing? Yes.
There was no infrastructure.
No. Yes.
In essence,
no.
Take a short break.
There was generation capacity. It was not sufficient. That is why we went into a deficit and we had done so for a number of years.
No, because
we resolved that.
But they paid off some of the debt.
No, it is not.
Thank you very much. Take a short break. We're going to return. We'll move into the RTI conversation.
It is true.